All right, all right, all right. I am so excited for the person that we're going to talk to today. I want to first say good morning, my co-host, Mr. Baker. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right, baby. How you doing,
I'm
Nick?
good. I'm good. Just want to introduce the expert that we're talking to today. I've known this cat since the 70s. I mean, if that don't sound old, I don't know what does. But Mr. Jonathan Kitt, he is an associate professor of science, scene study, and acting, Department of Performing Arts at Emerson College. Where are you from originally, Jonathan?
Um, uh, I was originally born. I'm on, right? You can hear me, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
good.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was born in New York City, in in Harlem, in Manhattan, New York City, and it is so funny saying we known each other since the '70s. My family moved to Winter Park, Florida. My grandmother wanted to get out of New York City at that time, and we had relatives that was in Winter Park, Florida. Her uncle, which would have been my great uncle, and we moved to Winter Park, Florida, and I pretty much grew up there. Winter Park, and I always like to tell people Winter Park and Edenville, because they're so close together. That's where I pretty much grew up. But my family was New Yorkers, and we would go back to New York a lot every other summer or whatnot. Spend certain summers there. What it did, depending on what was going on, and yeah. So that's where I grew up, and
So
yeah.
New York to Central Florida, Winter Park, Eatonville. You know what? I throw Eatonville in there sometimes when I want street cred. Because you say Winter Park, people are like Winter
Here we
Park.
go. Here we go.
But I want some street cred. I throw
I say Winter
Yeah,
Park, but I also say
Eatonville.
Edenville because I was in Edenville a lot. You know what I mean? Even we could walk to Edenville if we wanted to. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's right
Yeah,
there. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
You
I
know,
throw it
and
in
it,
there sometimes.
yeah, and then
Eatonville, oldest, black community. I throw them in there. So, but anyway, Jonathan Kitt, MFA. First thing I want to ask is because you're from Harlem, yes, you're from New
yeah,
York,
yeah.
but growing up in Central Florida, growing up where we grew up, not, I mean, I don't want to say like we grew up under slavery conditions, but what inspired you to go into acting? Because
Well,
I didn't see any role
well,
models back in the day for acting for
well,
us.
well, well, well. It's interesting. It's interesting. Now, this is the thing. I always say, because me and my family we talk about it a lot. My mom yeah. Mostly I talk about with her. Every now and then my aunt too. I guess I talk about it with my family in general. Where my sister and I, we really had a good upbringing. It was the best move my grandmother decided to make it, and my whole family follows her. My mother, my aunts, everybody followed her to Winter Park, Florida. Right outside of Orlando, and like I said, Edenville is right there. First unincorporated black township. Excuse me if you're from there. So when we
Seville.
moved there, it was a community. It was a community. Everybody knew everybody. You you had free reign at the whole community. Uh, People knew who you were. They knew who your family were. We went to, there were three major, I guess, churches. People knew everybody, to go to one of those three major churches or whatever, or four major churches, whatever it is. And but it also was a sense of, because moving to the South, it was funny because this is where I learned it. We all lived across the tracks, right? White folks lived
Hmm.
across one side of the track, black folks lived on the other side of the track. So we we had to deal with one another. Even if we had differences or disagreements or fights or whatever, it still was, we're in this together, really. And they don't really have our best interest at heart. You know what I mean? They got their only thing going on across the tracks. We need to deal with this on our side of the tracks or whatever, right? In our community. And I was bussed out to, as you know, out to Winter Park High School. I always think of middle school or Winter Park Junior High was kind of half and half. You know what I mean? We kind of had half and half. So that's a different experience. We walked to school and it was half and half. You know what I mean? So it's a different way of operating. Being bussed out to Winter Park High School, where I joke all the time about it. I go, they said it was 2,000 white students, 87 black at the time. All I saw was about 50. You know what I mean? One bus load and a couple of specks on the other buses. You know what I mean? But still, even in that, it informed me. Like I could always see, like, and what the sad part about that was, I could see how we were kind of used for sports. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we were celebrated during the sport, but once the sport was over, their backs were turned. So what made me, when I noticed that very early, I knew that I wanted to go to a HBCU very early. And my mother, being that, she was born, bred, raised, the whole thing in Harlem, she didn't really like Central Florida, Winter Park, Florida, in the Orlando area. So ironically, my aunt was the one was like, "Hey, you should look into Atlanta. Look at Atlanta. It's a black city. They got a black mayor. They got a new airport. It's international. You should try it." And my mother was like, "Oh, okay, let me go." And the rest was history. Once she went to Atlanta, that's why I went to Clark, Atlanta University, and that's why my sister went to Spelman, because we followed my mother after we graduated from high school. We went to Atlanta. But being in Winter Park and being from a black community like that, but also being bussed out to the white communities and seeing how they operate and seeing how they move and how they related to us and how it really wasn't about us. I want to be somewhere again where it was about me, where it was about us, and that's what made me go there. So it made sense. I just think it all worked for the best. You know what I mean? In my travels, and just who made me the man that I am today. And we're lucky too, in the time that we came up, especially during college, it was a new sense of black consciousness. It's a neo swing of black empowerment consciousness and everything else when we were coming of age as young men. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just, I always feel like, man, I was just so lucky and fortunate and blessed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I mean, we all have our own experiences, but as far as Winter Park High, yeah, you're right. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Elroy Harris, the only reason he was there, play some football. I mean, that's kind of, you're right. They got the top athletes,
Yeah.
somehow got them in the school district because it was a big school district. It
But
it it
because Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
because
Johnny.
because what I thought was, what I saw, when my scope was always a little wide. You know what I mean? I hung and had a good time with everybody and my boys there, whatever. But I always been one to kind of watch, like take it in and analyze and assess, how do I fit into whatever, right? So in that environment, I just was always like, wait a minute, I'm seeing my boys who are older than me say, "Oh well, I'm going to college," but they'll be back home after the first semester. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Or they be back home. 1 year tops. They back around the way. So with no support system. So that's what made me go, I'm going to school for academics, not no sports, and I'm going to a black college. That's what that, and I could see that. And I saw that maybe, like, I started really recognizing that for real, like junior year. And I just really was like, yo, I see how this is moving.
But kid, check this out though. Although you was going to a black school, HBCU, why act?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so when I was first, like I said, I'm glad I told that backstory, because when I went, it was just, I want to go to school. I want to go to black school. And then I get there, and it's like, all these women, I ain't going no damn way. I'm staying right here. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's gonna take me 5 years to get out of here. I ain't leaving quick. so so when I first got there, so you have to declare a major, right? So I said, well, communications, right? That was kind of the biggest. Clark was kind of known for its business school and its communication school. That's what it was
True.
known for.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, communications. Did not really know what I wanted to do. So then you got to just declare concentration. I go public relations of all things. And I'm like, I don't care about no public or relating to it. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm there and I'm just kind of hanging. I got my boys who I've, met, and we all, most of them from New York and some of them from Florida. We all hanging, one or two from Chicago, whatever. We all hang in Detroit area. Yeah. So we hanging, having a good time, whatever. And I knew it was something that was always in. Well, oh yeah. Well, Spike Lee was big at the time. Right? Remember, I said that's upward swing of black consciousness in thought. So Spike Lee was big at the time. So you had all these different things coming out in the artistic community that were black centered, right? So that's what was shaping us at that time, right? Music, fashion, hell, politics with Jesse Jackson, and being in Atlanta with Maynard Jackson and Andrew Young and different people, like everything was very black centered in those years of, because I went to undergrad 87 to 92. So that those years, I always like to say, between, let's say, 85, 86 to like 93, it was a strong resurgence of black thought, consciousness, and centeredness, right? So our movies were reflecting that, and our music was reflecting that, with Public Enemy, with the brand Nubians, all these different groups, at the time before gangster rap came in, right, and NWA and them came in, and it changed the whole trajectory of stuff, right. So I'm seeing this, right. So I said, well, and why did I pick public relations? uh, you know, I want to try this thing at movies. I want to make movies. I want to be like Spike. I want to make movies. So I switched my major to theater and film. So in that discipline, it was a woman. Her name was Joan Lewis, J.W. Lewis. And let me tell you, if anybody black at that time coming out of the Atlanta area, you had to come through Joan if you were doing theater, if you were an actor, if you were a black actor. She had taught one of the professors, Carol Mitchell Leon, who was one of our professors, right? Which that last name, Leon, her husband was Kenny Leon. Kenny Leon had come through Joan as well, all of them. Kenny Leon, the black guy on Broadway, he came through Joan. Joan gave him his start. And Joan would always be like, the best thing he ever done was with me. Because Joan was old school, right? Joan would, cuss you out, embarrass you, offer to kick your ass, fight you, all kind of stuff, But she knew her stuff, and Joan was a little crazy. I mean, you're gonna be in this business forever, but she knew everything. So I learned lighting design. I learned costume. I learned different things dealing with stagecraft, but mostly acting. I learned from Joan. But before that, like I said, I want to be like Spike. So we making our little student films, shooting them on Super 8 cameras, shooting them on 16 millimeter cameras. But we all poor black students. We ain't got no money. And film costs money back then. It wasn't iPhones where you pull out your phone and can make a movie, right? So, you got to edit, you got you got to do all this stuff, right? It's arduous, right? And it's time consuming and thought, and takes a lot of everything, right? So, Joan kept coming to me going, hey, your major says theater and film. You got a theater obligation you have to meet. And I was like, oh, because I'm young and I'm thinking I'm all that. I don't want to make theater, theater, what? Theater. I'm a movie maker. I'm like Spike. I want to be like Spike. She's like, okay. She's like, guess what? You're not going to pass any class of mine until you do a play with me. And back
Wow.
then, you could be like that. And Joan also, the provost was scared of Joan, because Joan could go in there and be like, listen, I owe these artists, these designers some money. Where they money? I need to pay them today. They'd be like, oh, okay, Joan, here, because Joan, she just was that kind of person. So where now it's not that world anymore, where Joan was like, well, and she gave me an incomplete in her class. And I couldn't get that incomplete off my transcript until I did a play. So she cast me in a play, The River Niger, by Joseph Walker. I dropped out. Because I'm young. Like you said, I'm from New York, I'm from Whittemore, Evil. You know how we got, the bravado we got. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because that's how we grew up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I dropped out. Great. I always regret it. It haunts me to this day because that was a fabulous play. Dropped out. So she gave me another chance. She cast me in, what was it? Boozman and Lena by Arthur Fugard. And Arthur Fugard just died about a couple weeks ago. He's a South African writer, writes about apartheid plays.
Mm.
Wrote Boozman and Lena. Like I said, that was a play. One of the plays that's the one I was casting at Clark. But Sizwe Bonzi is dead. That's the one that put Kenny Leon on the map back in the day. And all these other different plays that he's done, that these great Master Harold and the Boys, all this stuff. So The Island. So She cast me in that play. I dropped out. Exactly, right? Jerk, dropped out. So then this happened. Me and a friend of mine was leaving campus late one night after hanging out in the courts. That was the way kind of they had like it was kind of like apartments that they would have on campus. Me and were leaving late night to try to catch the last train home. Um, and we got robbed, we got jumped, and he got killed. Right? Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
that's how I ended up wearing glasses because I got pistol whipped, and
Hmm.
that's how I
I
started
remember
wearing
that.
glasses because he hit me with the gun. It went off, and it hit Dewan in the head and killed him. Right. So when that happened, that was 1990. I think that happened, like November 1990, because that was the first semester my junior year. So um, after that happened, I kept wondering why was I left here and Dewan was taken, right? What was my purpose? What have I been doing? I've been kind of drifting. Adults see something in me. Why can't I see it in myself? I say I have this talent or this thing I want to do or things I kind of know about myself. Why won't I? Why won't I reach and dig down, grab those things, pull those things, and bring those things to the surface, right? So I come back to school that next semester, and I was like, Joan, I'm all yours, right? I'm ready. Because ironically enough, too, I went back to Winter Park, Florida during that Christmas break. That was one of the last times I went back, other than graduation and years later, but I went back, and I was at the center. I was at the community center sitting out back. And I was sitting out back and I was telling Jarrett Bowie is his name. I was telling Jarrett Bowie the story. And I said, man, I'm thinking about trying this acting thing. It was ironic that it was him. I was just like, I'm thinking about trying this acting thing. And he told me, he was like, hey man, it's just like Nike. It's just like Nike. Just do it. You know what I mean? And he just said something simple as that. Something as simple as that. I mean, it just take somebody who your peer to
Hmm.
just be. And Jared was a little bit younger. I think about 2 years younger or whatever, something like that. Definitely a year. I think it might have been 2 years. But Jared was just like, yo, man, just like Nike. Just do it. And I thought about that. I said, yeah, why am I hesitating if this is what I know that's inside me that I want to try? And so when I went back, like I said, that next semester, I went to John and said, I'm all yours. I did my first play, Zoo Man and the Sign by Charles Fuller. And that play is about a young girl gets killed in a crossfire between rival gang people, and
Mm.
she gets killed. Young girl, like a 12-year-old girl or something like that. And so the father has been estranged from the family. So the father comes back home and he puts a sign up saying, the killers of my daughter go free because my neighbors won't come forward, right? So the whole play is the neighbors and everybody being and the gang members, Zoo Man, seeing the sign going, who he think he is? He need to take that sign down. Like, how dare him? Like, and coming to the wife, like, hey, Ruben got this sign or whatever. And Ruben is determined not to take that sign down. And it's funny because it kind of chokes me up a little bit because as a man, he's like, yo, I don't care. Nobody's gonna make me take that sign down. You know what I mean? My daughter and they know about this, right? So that play was a huge hit. Like people would come see it because I played the uncle, right? And one of my mentors, who's older than me, one of the teachers, professors, 10 years older, played Ruben. But in that play, learning the craft of acting from theater and the instantaneous response and nature of theater, it made me just go right to theater and I figured, oh, well, I'll come back around to film one day as actors did back in the day. You do theater, then go to film. And I said, maybe I'll come back to film, but this theater, I don't need the money. I don't need it's not time consuming. It's not all this, it's just me, right? And it's the actor's medium. It's not a director's medium like film is, right? So it was just such a great experience, and I did so well at it, and Joan taught me so much that I just kept going. I just kept going, and I never stopped. You know what I mean? And I tell this sometimes to students or whatever. Not really because they're so sensitive now, but uh, 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 everybody can't do this. A lot of people are called to it, but but we all have talents. You just have to find where your talent lies. you may come in thinking you might be an actor, but really you're a producer type person, or really you're a writer, or really you're a set designer, or really you're a lighting person, or really you're something other. But acting, yes, you can learn the craft, but it has to also, it was something that was always in me, and I could trace that thing back to watching those movies of the 70s and watching The Godfather and and Jaws or whatever, you know what I mean? And remember, like I could remember line, like stuff. I could act it out. I could, you know what I mean? All since I was a kid, you know what I mean? It was something that was a talent that was in me, but it had to be fostered, shaped, and grown, and then get the education along with the craft, learn the craft along with the natural talent that I had, you know. And the rest is history, man. I just kept going, Yeah.
So, did you stick with theater? Did you try to make the transition to back to film, or did you just kind of say, "Hey, theater's it. This is where I'm
Well,
going."
well, what's funny is, you start theater back then, especially you start theater, but you always there's not an actor on the planet that doesn't want to do movies or TV. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's where the money is. That's where the fame, or that's the big screen, or whatever else, right? So, after graduation from Clark, I stayed in Atlanta for a little while. I stayed there 3 years actually. Then I moved back
Mhm.
to New York City and pounded the pavement in New York City about 10 years altogether. But in between there, went to LA. Went to LA for like 2 years.
Mhm.
But once again, the time we came up in, when I went to LA, that was 2000, 2001. I saw how LA really wasn't about us.
Mm-mm.
LA, we there just because they go, oh well, we'll allow you to be here. It's not about us whatsoever. No power, no green light ability. No, we have no call, no nothing, 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 nothing. So here's all us, well, not a whole bunch, but here's black people. Oh, let's network and let's blah blah blah. It's all meaningless, right? You got to wait for someone else outside of you who does not look like you, who does not have your sensibilities, who does not come from your community, does not come from your whatever, your world, go, okay, you're the guy, right?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So now, Spike and them, once again, in the Denzels, they're kind of, like a better little word, lucky. They rushed in the door when it was a need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
The door
Uh.
slightly cracked. They all ran through. You know what I mean? So they all ran through it. Oh, we in here. You know what I mean? But the Sam Jacksons, all of them, they lucky, because I was going. If Spike died today, he's done his service. You know what I mean? Because if it wasn't for him, none of them would be working.
Right.
You know what I mean? Both in front of or behind the camera. None of them, right? Maybe one or two, right? I mean, look at it today. They ain't making no more Denzel. Denzel's 70 years old and still running around here like he's 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That had its moment. That had its moment, right? So being out there, and once again, being conscious, like that's why I said I value Winter Park, Edenville, whatever. Of course, Harlem, whatever, Brooklyn as an adult. But my formative years going, wait a minute, hold on. These white folks ain't got they don't care about me. They ain't got my best interest at heart. I'm a black man. I'm a straight black man. What the hell are they going? What the hell am I doing? You know what I mean? And at that time, they had already started to shut it down anyway, because they went, here, take Will Smith, shut all the rest of that shit down. Excuse my language. Shut it down. Right? So it became about Will Smith and nothing else. Right? I mean, you get a black something here or there, but it's really not like now I see stuff I don't even want to do it. You know what I mean? It's not, I watch British shows now. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I watch British TV now. You know what I mean? It's like I don't even like American stuff. I'm always like, every now and then something good pop. But when it's us, it's very mediocre. I mean, who's the only person good now? I think it's like Ava DuVernay. That's probably it. Maybe Ryan Coogler. So it's two. Ryan Coogler, Ava DuVernay. Everybody else
What
just kind
about
of like,
Shonda?
well, I
Look,
have my thoughts.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
I have my thoughts as a black man from back in the day. And then as you say, this is old man therapy. I have my thoughts as a black man from back in the day. But you know, hey man, God bless sister. Do you. But I just once again what I come from is sisters like Diane Carroll,
Yeah.
like Cecily Tyson, I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head, but so many great sisters that were sisters, you know, and okay, you love who you love, or you marry people who you for business moves or political moves, whatever. But I come from a world of, I mean, I'm okay with white folks are all right with me, but they don't, you know what I mean? I mean, they okay, you know what I mean? I don't long to be aligned, you know what I'm saying?
Hold on, Johnny. Uh, you're like, they okay. Look, they okay.
No,
No,
I'm just saying,
no.
okay, Toni Morrison once said she never viewed herself out of the white lens. And
Hmm.
I that's the world that I come from. It doesn't really matter about being white adjacent. You know what I mean? Like we could work together. I could respect you. You gonna respect me. We could respect each other. We could be the best of friends, love, we can't, whatever. But I don't. But it's not this hierarchy thing. It's not this thing where I'm trying to fit in or be with, or you're setting my narrative, or you complete me. That's just not my world. I don't come
Right.
from that
I
Mm-hmm.
hear
world.
you. I hear you.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So Hollywood is kind of that world.
Mm.
Well, and let me say this, Johnny, just from what you just said, where black people they had no green light ability. It was going to take somebody non-black to get them on. And what's crazy is two of probably the blackest shows that have ever been on TV, Girlfriends and The Game, produced by a gentleman that is a big Trump supporter. The guy that played Frasier.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He
Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer, yeah.
Kelsey Grammer put together a production company just to greenlight African American shows because he said every year they'd all get together. How do we make it more diverse? How do we do this? And nothing would ever happen. So he's like, screw it. I'm just going to start a production company and find them and greenlight them. And that's what he did.
But what
So I
happens is,
definitely believe you.
but what happens too, though, like the game. I mean, we all have our different. Like I said, I watch British shows now. It's like, because my wife watched that stuff. You know what I mean, to a degree, and it's like, for real, put it this way. What happened was this: Spike in that time frame. Spike, the Hughes brothers, the Hudlin brothers,
Hmm.
what's that? Casey Lemons, all these different people at that time that I came through. Black people were at the top of his intelligence. Robert Townsend. It could be comedy, but it's the top of its intelligence. The game and all that. It's like eighth graders playing dress up.
But Johnny, isn't TV eighth graders playing dress up now all across the board? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think, and because I'm a big time TV movie, I love all that stuff. The production values, and that's more because there's so much content that's needed for all these 300 damn channels that are out there. Production values are definitely much lower than they used to be. I will agree
Right.
with you there.
But this is the thing I'm saying, because they have so much content. But when it is something that's like kind of run of the mill or dumbed down, it doesn't really last long. Like I laugh about the Stars Network. I call that the 50 Cent Network. You know what I mean? Like Stars,
Yeah.
all them shows, all it is 50 Cent shows. It is like
Empower.
yeah,
Yeah.
and black folks are running to. I'm so happy that my cousin, who's younger in his 30s, because his mother always called me like, "Have you seen whatever you've seen?" And she said, "You just like Kevin. You and Kevin, because Kevin like, I don't watch that stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's a lower brow, low thought. It's kind of actually all those shows are pretty insulting actually to us. They're pretty insulting. That doesn't mean you can't have a gangster show. That doesn't mean you can't. I told
Hmm.
you I was informed by The Godfather. You know what I mean, or whatever as a kid. As an
Right.
actor or whatever. I'm not saying that you can't have a comedy. I'm not saying that you can't have a slapstick comedy, but it has to be I mean, just like now, I mean, we've allowed, Tyler Perry, Oprah, and Lee Daniels to hijack the industry. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Tyler Perry
That stuff is
basically runs Atlanta. Yeah.
bad. You know what I mean? And this is what's
Look,
for us. You know what I mean?
but this is my thing on that, and I understand what you're saying. But you know what they're gonna call you, Johnny?
What?
Oh, he's an elitist. He's an elitist.
And guess
But
what? And you can. You call me that. Yes, I
but
am. Somebody got to be.
I understand exactly where you're coming from because I do this. I say this, dude. All them reality shows, I'm like, Heather, turn that. That's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard. I can't watch the reality shows.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm air quotes reality.
Yeah.
But I am a person that believes, hey, if you are entertained by this, I'm not mad at you. If that's what you
Well,
want to go support, because I had a dude online. I just want to do this real quick. There's a guy online who was basically cussing out the black community because we didn't go see. I forgot what the movie was about. It had something to do with slavery.
okay,
So
okay, okay.
nobody went to see the slavery movie, but some dumb Kevin Hart movie was out that was making millions, and he was doing a rant on online about the black community and how we don't. I'm like, look,
Ironically,
like
he's the dude. Kevin Hart is the black actor now. Like
yes,
he's like the number one. Like he. I mean, he in drama. He in. He in this, I'm like,
he
wow.
has he
Look,
has considering where he started, he
yeah.
has
Who
definitely
would have thought like that?
transformed himself.
Think about it. That is the guy. That is the Denzel.
Kevin Hart used to be the cat that you would put in, come on the screen for 5 minutes with a do rag on, and just do 5 minutes of
Yeah,
slapstick, whatever.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
this cat is looking at getting an Oscar. So I mean, I
Yeah,
give him I give him
who would
much
have thought
credit.
that he'd be the dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I laugh about that all the time. I'm like, wow, Kevin Hart. And some of the stuff I'm like, wow, that was good. Yeah, that was pretty good. Like that's good. You know what I mean? Like he's the guy. He's yeah. And
but
I ain't mad at that.
but my thing
Yeah.
is, people like what they like, and I let people like. If you're not,
Yeah,
hey, if you don't, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not gonna go show you no more slavery movies. I've learned enough about slavery. I'm good. I don't
yeah,
want to see any more slavery movies.
Well,
So
well,
you
well.
know,
What's funny? What's funny is I at first as an actor, I was like, oh, I can't get no tattoos or whatever, because just in case I play in a
Kuta
historical,
Kinte,
yeah, historical piece. Yeah.
the remake of Roots, starring
Subconsciously,
Johnny Kitt.
I'm saying a historical piece, but subconsciously, I'm going if it's a slavery piece. I said, man, but once again, because of where we're from. See, this is. I'm glad we started the conversation like this because of where I'm from. I was like, look, the hell with that. I tattooed my arm because I'm like,
I have my shirt on and I ain't doing that. Everything is a black dude got to take his shirt off. You know what I mean? Even if it's not slavery. If you're gonna be with Tyler Perry, you got to take your shirt off. He got to see you. You know what I mean? So you got, everything is take your shirt off. Take your shirt off. You sweaty with your shirt off. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I said, forget this. But now, tattoos they don't it doesn't really matter. But you're not gonna need it. Yeah. But
Okay, so let's get back on track.
yeah.
So you go out to LA. They ain't green lighting. The Johnny Kitt story is not getting green light.
Well, what I saw was this. If you at that time, Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts, Pamela Anderson. If you're not falling in that slot, why are you there? If you're not Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts, Pamela Anderson, or that type, why are you there? You know what I mean? So I'm nowhere near Tom Cruise, Julia Roberts, or Pamela Anderson. You know what I mean? So I went back to New York. But before I left, I co-wrote I had this idea for a satire called Rap Hollywood Rap, because that's when rappers were in everything, right? They rappers. If you were black, you're gonna be a rapper in it, right? But once again, that's who Hollywood thinks that's who they think that's where their audience lies. That's what they think of us, right? So we wrote a satire called Rap Hollywood Rap. And I know my stuff. It was good. So I pitched it to my man. He said, yeah, I want to help you with it. So he came over every day. He was the computer guy. And we would write different parts of the story, come together, act it out, whatever. And within 11 months, we had this screenplay. We shopped it around a little bit. everybody kept saying we need to give it to the Wayans brothers, but at the time we like, no, we want to be in it. It was written for him and I. So we couldn't get any traction on it, right? Because everybody like, ooh, this would be great for the Wayans brothers. This would be great for the Wayans brothers. To my Marlon and Sean, right?
Yeah.
So, and we were like, nah. Uh, and I think Michael John White had an interest in it at one point, but I can't really remember. But so I left because he's a West Coast dude. He stayed out there, and I left with back to New York because I was like, look, man, I'm an artist, I'm an actor. I ain't really about this. I need to be 100% committed to and value where I am as opposed to always looking over the next mountain. You know what I mean? And I went back to New York City, and my day job was always educational theater. I always had done that to pay the bills, and I just started acting again, just doing theater. And in the ed theater, I ended up meeting my wife in New York, but she was from Chicago, and she was like taking care of her mother in Chicago. Mother had Alzheimer's, and I said, well, you know what? I could go to Chicago. Chicago. I said, instead of us trying to figure out how we gonna be together in New York, whatever, I can always come to Chicago. You know what I mean? I always heard great things about the Chicago theater scene, whatever. And once again, like I said, I've always been blessed. I've always been, and God has always moved me to where I need to be, right? Because that was one of the best things that I could have ever done was go to Chicago at that time, like 2005, 2006, because New York was kind of changing, right? New York was starting to become about trust fund kids. You know what I mean? And it was changing, and it had always been a musical theater town, but really musical theater. And also the theater became it just changed, right? So I went to Chicago, and that's a theater town. It's theater, right? And more black folks work there than any place I ever been. And
Really?
quality work. Chicago.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I saw I'm there, I'm like, oh wow. Because now remember now Chicago got a history of the lines of demarcation.
Yeah. Red
Yeah.
line
Southwest
district.
north.
Red line. Yeah.
Southwest north. You know what I mean? So I think even though theater's more of, on the north side of town and whatever, I think there's still more. I think people have to deal with each other with a sense of respect at least. You know what I mean? And have to value and know that okay, we they're needed. You know what I mean, or whatever, or something. I don't know how to explain it really, but there I saw black folks work more than any place else, and they also it was good quality theater. And so I knew at one point, I said, I have to go back and get my MFA. I knew this, right? Because I saw theater changing. Once again, I'm no fool. And I know some people might watch this and they may get a little angry at some of the stuff I said earlier, but I'm no fool. I've never been one that that I just that is just it's inconceivable what I'm saying, or I'm just making it up, or he's angry or whatever they want to say. I don't know, but I'm looking at this thing when I was in New York, and I'm going, wait a minute, only stars are working, or if you have an MFA, right? If you've been on Broadway for 150 years, they're getting work, right? You're not new coming in, because it's agent driven. It ain't nothing but a big old dirty LA. You know what I mean? That's all New York is. It's agent driven. So or manager or who or whatever else, right? So I'm looking at this how New York has changed from an arts town to turning into that, right? Exclusively turning into that. So when I moved to Chicago and I said, now is the, and one of my boys hit me to this. He said, hey man, it's a slot system. He said it's Yale, Juilliard, NYU. That's the big three. Then you got another slot of maybe DePaul, Penn State, Brown, all these other schools, right? So when I went to Chicago, I saw, the theater school at DePaul. And at the time, it was ranked number 5 out of theater programs. So I was like, for MFA programs. And I think the BFA program, the undergrad, is like in the top 5 all the time.
Now, what
Mm-hmm.
is MFA? What does MFA stand
Masters in
for?
Fine
Master of
Arts.
Fine Arts.
Masters in
Okay,
Fine Arts
gotcha.
acting. So I said, I have to get an MFA because I'm married now. We got a daughter. I can't be piecing money together like I was before. I got to have some stability. So if I ever want to teach or become a professor or whatever else, or even if I want the career to move forward, I got to get this MFA. Because America, man, America, America the beautiful, man. They always figure out a way of changing the game and going,
Exactly.
now you need
Oh,
this.
oh.
Now you
Well,
need
you're
this.
you've been doing this a minute, but you also need this. Yes,
Yes.
exactly. I agree with you.
That's just what it is. You know what I mean? That's just where we at. I ain't mad at it. That's what it is. So I went, I gotta get this if I'm going to move forward. So I knew at the time, I reached out to my mentor and was like, he said, hey man, you right at that line of age wise, what they would accept. So when you go in there, make sure blah blah blah. I gave me, some tips or whatever. So I said, okay, cool. Because I knew if I auditioned, I'm gonna get in. I knew it, right? So audition, got in, right? To program. 3 years. My wife like, wait a minute, how you going to a full-time acting program for 3 years? You married, we got a kid, whatever. I'm like, listen, I got it. If I'm gonna have any kind of future, I have to do this. And it was the best move I could have ever made. What it changed me as an artist, because Chicago too, they're very big on self-generated work. Their templates are Steppenwolf Theater, which is probably the premier ensemble company, right? That's John Malkovich and Gary Sinise and all these different people come out of there. Uh, um, I'm trying to say some women so they won't just say I'm just talking about men. Lori Metcalf, yeah, Lori Metcalf. This one. It used to be one brother for many years. I forgot his name now. He was one brother for about like 25 years, and now they got some black folks in there now. But he so that's the premier ensemble company in Second City. So Second City is where all those comedians come out of. You know what I mean?
SNL, all the
So
SNL
yeah,
people
all those
come.
coming.
Yeah,
So that's the models of Chicago, right? And everything else filters under through those models, right? So, but Chicago's big on if ain't nobody hiring you, hire yourself. They're big on that, right? So they're like self-generated work, and those being the templates of Second City and Steppenwolf. So I went ahead and did that, right? I did that, and it just changed me as an artist, right? And got my MFA. But then after that, so I had an agent, and I was auditioning or whatever. But Chicago also is big about ensemble companies. So if you're not in their company, sometimes it's hard to get in and get a role, right? So I was already an adult. I was an equity member. Actors equity means that I was in the theater union. So I'm in the union already. I'm already the age of some people that's been there for 100 years. You know what I mean? So they're like, oh well, no, you were really great. We want to work with you, but we have to give this to our ensemble member. Wow, that was a fabulous audition. Blah blah blah. So eventually, I said, well, you know what? Let me just deal with TV and film because I have a family anyway. I got a wife and daughter. So I started going out for commercial work, right? And I ended up writing a one-man show, a solo show. It just kind of came out of me because of that experience, right? And I ended up doing that on and off for 3 years, doing my solo show at different little places. And every time I made a profit. The very first time I did it, I made a $6 profit. And I was like, I went to the director and I was like, hey, I made $6. You can have three and I'll keep three. And he was like, nah, brother, go ahead. You can keep this.
Keep that $6.
you go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
You all
ahead
right?
and get you
I'm
yeah,
good.
get you a combo.
yeah,
Go ahead and combo meal it and enjoy your
yeah,
$6.
yeah.
But I ended up doing, and it was so empowering to do my own words because if you saw but the email address I gave you is it was Superfly one whatever, right? Like Kit dot Superfly whatever dot com whatever, because the show I wrote was Superman Black Man Me, a stage essay. And it dealt with a lot of the stuff we're talking about even right now, about my journey as an artist, about what were my what were my inspirations, how did I come to this, how do I view the world, and it used also my great grandfather, my father, and my grandfather, and how they shaped me as a black man in the world that we're in, because the whole tagline was all black men are supermen, some just haven't tapped into it yet.
Mm.
That's what I would keep going back to, that we're all supermen. So why would we even settle for what we talked about earlier, being an eighth grader playing dress up? No, I'm a superman. I didn't see men in my community that not knowing what to do. Even if they made a decision that was the wrong decision, they were men and they made that decision. That's why I say Winter Park, Florida, Edenville, Florida. If it was Harlem, whatever, it was black men who were men, and it wasn't I'm afraid or I'm scared or I don't know what to do. Oh, I'm funny or I need to make you feel comfortable before it wasn't none of that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that show, it was because people always like, oh, when you gonna do a sequel, you gonna make it. I'm like, nah. I mean, that was in me then. It came out, and now I'm like, I'm chilled now.
It is
You
what
know?
it
Yeah.
is. All right. So, and dude, I'm truly enjoying our conversation because honestly, Johnny, half
Yeah.
the stuff you're saying, I had no idea.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, you're like, okay, this dude is living a layered life. But I want to get into like the part because the main reason I do this is because, or we do this, is to educate our audience. So I
yeah.
want you to start. I'm gonna ask you some questions to get us to what you would tell somebody coming up. So somebody from Winter Park, from Eatonville, from Maitland, come trying to get into acting. What's the advice you would give them?
Well, I would tell them to train. I would tell them to go to school. I would tell them to train. You know what I mean? And I would tell them to read, and also I would tell them to watch, everything, but really seek out quality, so you can know the difference. Because even with my students, when I worked because I went back to my undergraduate alma mater when I first got my first job at Clark University, and I was there for 5 years.
Oh, hold on,
Well,
hold on. I got to tell you a quick story.
yeah,
I had, so it was it had to be about 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I'm at I'm at Morehouse, right, for homecoming. And I think Clark, we was having our homecomings the same weekend.
yeah.
I walk, because I'm walking, hanging out. Guess what I run into on the street? Johnny Kitt. You remember that?
Yeah. I
Do
do
you
remember
remember
that.
that?
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, and John was like, yeah, man, I'm back at Clark. I'm first time. I'm like, what? Because I hadn't seen you since basically 91.
yeah.
So I used to run to Johnny quite a bit, when I was at Morehouse and he was at Clark.
Yeah.
Because, it's that Winter Park Eatonville connection,
Yeah, and
So
also AU Center, we're just all there.
we all hang out together, we kick it together. Because I was dating somebody at Clark at this time.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. You were dating, yeah, my girl, yeah, she was cool
yeah,
people. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember.
yeah,
Yeah, yep.
yeah. So it was all good. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm up in him 5 years ago,
I've
hanging
dated
out on
women at
Clark.
Clark too. You act like you're doing something.
Well, my first real true girlfriend had come from Spelman. When after I
Well, that's
graduated,
where you start. You start with Spelman women, and then you find out the Clark women are more fun. So you go to the Clark women. That's how it works. You
I
might
know,
be
right?
a Spelman, but you're like,
Oh, I'm gonna get ran
Well,
out.
y'all Spelman girls a little uppity.
yeah, but Clark only had one male dorm.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
Brawley. We were in Brawley
Yeah,
Hall until we moved.
everybody,
Yeah, until we moved there. Yeah, it was all women. Yeah,
all women. I mean,
all
so it
women.
was like, oh my god, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
well,
it
tell
was a
me
beautiful
this.
thing.
Yes, the AUC is a beautiful thing. Period.
Hell,
Tell me this,
Atlanta, but
Johnny.
Atlanta done got a little roguish now. That's why I'm glad I had to get out of there.
Dude, yeah, you don't. It's
It's a little roguish now.
that'll be a whole nother podcast.
I know that's a whole nother.
So talk to me about the difference from because Johnny, I wanted to. I came along during that Spike Lee time. I wanted to be Spike Lee. I just didn't. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have mentors that told me, "Well, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do." Nowadays, kids' mentors are the internet. They can go online, Google it, AI, and find out what they need to do to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Has technology really changed the way you come up in acting?
Well. I think now. Well, let me just jump a little bit ahead. Where I think now there's so many platforms that now they have more opportunities to do whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? Because there's
Mm.
so many platforms. It's a little. Where when we were young, it was a little untouchable. Certain things. You know what I mean? We were kind of where we were. Where now it's a little more opened up. And also, you can empower yourself. You know what I mean? I would always go for them to empower themselves. Just start, you know, shooting things with their friends. You know what I mean? Just start writing, but they have to read and they have to study and they have to watch quality to know how to write. The reason why my screenplay, if you were to read my screenplay, right, y'all would be like, damn, this is good, whatever. But I've been shaped, so I know how to do it. You know what I mean? my solo show. I said I ran it on and off for 3 years because I know how to do it. I've been shaped. See, people now kind of sometimes to me, they just want to do it. They just want to say they, oh, I am what I am. And I just say, I can say, I'm a relationship, think like a man. I'm a relationship, expert. But it's like, well, wait a minute, you don't have any, you don't have any credentials or any education or any, what, you know what I mean? Like now people are just kind of saying what they are, you know what I mean? As opposed to go through the process to learn and to really, really, because all it's going to do is help you. It's just going to give you more in your tool belt, and you'll be able to reach for certain tools that others don't have. So I would say go to school, find programs that are, acting programs. Don't go to just some guy, oh, I'm teaching acting. You know what I mean? Go to a program. Now later on after that, you can go to individual classes outside, but go through a program first, I would say. You know what I mean? And so you can learn the process of this business. And then also just like I said, read, and you have to look at, you cannot get trapped in only watching Tyler Perry because your artistic level will be very low. You know what I mean? You would think, yeah, but that was funny, wasn't it? Well, guess what? Everything gonna have a laugh here or there, but really, is it gonna stand the test of time and end up in the Library of Congress? And not to say that that's that's the pinnacle, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So
So, Kit,
yeah.
I have a son. He's a freshman at Howard.
Okay.
He's a
Cool. Cool.
he,
Congratulations.
yep. He's a musical theater major,
Oh wow. Okay.
and
So he can sing and dance.
he can sing and dance and act. He's
He the
been
real
doing.
deal, kid. He the real deal.
Okay.
He's dope. I don't always tell him that, but he's really good. But he does what you're saying. He study, and all he wants to do is be on Broadway. He wants to be on stage, and
And
so
he
and
will
I'm
get
like,
there. He will get
and
there.
he's like, well, I always ask, I say, you don't want to do movies and stuff. He say, no, Dad, I want to be on stage. And so his dance he can do. So he does. He started training in ballet,
Oh
modern dance, jazz. His favorite is hip hop, of course. But
yeah.
I shouldn't say of course, but his favorite is hip hop. But he's really, and so he's really great dancer.
Nice.
He's doing putting the work in on his voice and everything, and the acting and all that. He's been leads in musicals since he was in the fifth grade.
Nice.
And
Congratulations, brother.
no, man. So for someone like that, he's a freshman in college. He also he starred in Sophisticated Ladies
All right.
just recently. Well, it's not even star because it's more of an
Yeah, yeah, it's
ensemble type
ensemble. Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Sophisticated
But
ladies. Yeah.
but he was only one of three freshmen to do that.
Nice.
What kind of advice? Because I have to make sure he listens. I have to put y'all in contact too.
Well, well,
What
well.
kind
I
of advice
think. Well, I
would
think
you
with
give him?
him. Well, I think with him, he's already ahead of the game because he has you for one. He got a father
Hmm.
at home, and he got a father that supports him. That also is leading the way in the family. He's got that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So he's already halfway ahead of the game. You know what I mean? And then also he is at Howard. You know what I mean? And he's doing his thing. You know what I mean? He's a freshman now, so he got a long road ahead. He got a long road ahead. You know what I mean? He's a freshman. All you gotta do is
Hmm.
keep doing what he's doing. Keep doing what he's doing, and just keep really, really. My thing is because I'm not a musical theater guy. I'm more straight acting or
Hmm.
that's we what I do is I'm learned through like the Stanislavski system, but black acting
Hmm.
aesthetics. So my expertise is black acting aesthetics and also the Stanislavski system. So
Okay.
my thing is about really, really personalizing and understanding that he is a unique individual. Whatever role that he plays is going to be unique for him. I can't do what he does. You can't. Tommy can't. None of us can't do what he does. We can all play the same role, but we're going to play it differently from our own experiences. So the more he embraces his authentic self and his identity, and the more he actually allows that to bubble to the surface and to embrace that, oh, it's off to the races then. just off to the
Okay.
races. Because it's really about just bringing yourself to the role, marrying yourself to the character. See, a lot of times, especially when we're young, we want to hide behind the character or we want to stand outside of it. But the
Mm-hmm.
key is what makes the better actors is they merge themselves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Gotcha.
so he's a freshman, so he doesn't even really know that yet. And then I don't really know how they teach at Howard either. But my thing is, it's really about, you know, not necessarily like they're all kind of scared of the method, like they would call it the method acting. Like these
Mm-hmm.
kids are afraid of that because they're afraid of like, oh, my trauma, oh, I'm hurt, you know, whatever. But they're all really kind of afraid of that. So
Uh-huh.
I don't necessarily use the method, but I do use aspects of it to bring your personal identity, yourself to the forefront, because we're all unique individuals, and you're not going to do. I can't do what Denzel do, and guess what? Denzel can't do what I do. You know what I mean? Because we are uniquely who we are.
Right. Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And you have to bring that to the forefront.
So you would be a great professor for my son because he dives right in it. He's not afraid to take on something,
Well,
and
well, well,
he wants that challenge.
well. That is the beauty of an HBCU. I do kind of miss Clark sometimes because I was like a crazy uncle. You know, I could talk my stuff like I'm talking with y'all, and I could get the job done. You know what I mean? Now where I am, you know, then I went to the University of West Georgia, and that's kind of half and half. So I could be
Mm-hmm.
half of that, you know, because it was like half and half black and white students. Now I'm at Emerson College. So now I have to kind of come in
Adjust.
through the back door in a way. You know, I have to kind
Yeah.
of, you know, and it actually is a good learning experience for me. Actually, it's really taught me a lot, and I think now I kind of understand. My first 3 semesters, I've had a couple of complaints here or there. You know what I mean? You know, but but now I think I got it, because my thing is, at the end of the day, what I always want all students to know, regardless of your background, race, creed, color, identity, you know, sexual orientation, whatever the case may be, is that I'm an ally. Theater is a place for allyship. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm.
not an adversary. I want all of you to go further than me. I want all of you to make a difference in the business, to change the business, to make the business look like you want it to look, to not be at the mercy of MBAs and lawyers. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't want you to be at the mercy. I want you to be artists, and I want you to tell an authentic story that is your story. You know what I'm saying? So that's everybody. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, I need somebody to get famous so I can live in a guest house in out back. I need somebody to come up.
You know,
Okay. Okay. So, and I'm loving it. Thanks, Bake, for those questions, because yeah, your boy is the truth. Um, my next one is, so this, and I've said this to Bake before. Acting, is a dream career. I guess is the best
Yeah,
way. Passion career is
yeah,
what it
Pastor. Yeah,
is. It's a career that I'm sure if I would have said it to Tom Mitchell Sr., he would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about, but tomorrow you best to be at your regular job. I don't want to. I don't want to hear nothing about this acting. That's the kind of career that a lot of times that's what parents hear
yeah,
when
yeah.
their kids say, "I want to be an
No, no,
actor."
no. You're correct. You're correct.
So for the millions of kids and parents out there where acting does not become their career,
Mhm.
what does studying acting bring to
Well, well, well,
do just being
well, well.
a regular life?
Well, the beauty of this is, like, especially before I got to, in a Emerson, definitely, because Emerson, they all are what they are. You know what I mean? They all are artists, actors. You know what? They all are going to be in the business in some capacity for the most part, I think, unless they actually just choose not to, right?
Mhm.
For the most part, right? But what I would say prior to that, prior to Emerson, was the skills are transferable, right? The skills that you learn in acting classes, the way of opening yourself up, the way of being vulnerable, the way of communicating, the way of actually being empathetic to others. You know what I mean? The way
mm,
of actually being a world citizen. You know what I mean? They're transferable. Those skills are transferable. Reading, writing, all that stuff is transferable to other careers. A lot of times, I mean, through my travels, I know a lot. Most of the people I start with stopped. Most of them, I'm one of the few that's still going. And they've gone on. to have very lucrative careers in their prospective careers, right?
Mhm.
But I think it all comes back to that seed of they were actors at one point. They were theater people at one point. And guess what? They still are theater people. Because if I talk to them, they still relate to the world as an artist and they still are a world citizen. Once again, like I said, it's a big tent and I'm an adversary. You know what I mean? I want, a transgender brother or sister or whomever to be able to tell their story with authenticity, right? Authenticity, right? Yeah. I want them to be able to share their experience. I want them to be able to feel empowered with their experience. I want them to be, once again, going back to Winter Park, Florida, Ainville, Florida, because of how we were raised, you better
Yeah.
toughen up. You better man and woman up. You better stand up. You better put, your feet flat on the ground and your back straight and your head up and you better lean into it. But that's how we were taught. You know what I'm saying? And also, if you go, you better win or go home. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about, well, everybody's okay. No, if
No.
everybody, that means nobody.
Man, you are exactly right. I think about it, growing up, going to church, if you went to Ward Chapel or Bethel,
Yeah, I would
Mount
Lord.
Moriah, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? See, we dropping that Winter Park Edenville stuff on them right now. They don't know about this right here. But I
Well,
have one
yeah.
question.
Go
I
ahead. Go
got a
ahead, Nick.
question for you. How do you define a great actor? And then on the other side of that, can anyone be taught how to act?
Well, that's the question about can you be taught how to act? You know what I mean? That's the question. I would get in trouble at Clark when he'd be like, "Kid, you can't say that." Because they be like, because all they hear is you say they're not going to be actors. Because I would say like, "Hey, where do your strengths lie? Your strength might be somewhere else." You know what I mean? Don't get so. You know what I mean? This may not be it. You know what I mean? And I try to be honest with them, right? But everybody wants to hear what they want to hear, and sometime in this world that we're in, you know what I mean. Everybody wants to be praised, kind of in this world that we're in, right? And also in this world that we're in, we have to cover ourselves as leaders or whatever in any discipline. That could be from the business community all the way to theater community, right? So, but I would say that um, I think you have to come with some sort of I think you have to come with some sort of kind of underlying talent. You know what I mean? And then you could be shaped and taught the craft of it. You know what I mean? I don't know
Mhm.
if you could be just a complete blank slate without anything. You know what I'm saying? And be taught it. You see
Right,
what I mean? I believe
right.
you have to bring something to the table for the director, I feel, and the producer, the professor, I feel, to go, ooh, and to pull more out of you and to push you in different directions and to make you think about certain things, you know what I mean? And challenge you, you know what I mean? To grow. But you have to bring something to the table. You can't just not, I think you have to have something. I do. And then
So,
what was the other question? It was
so
you taught.
uh,
Great
yeah, yeah.
actor.
Can you be taught? What
Oh,
define a great actor?
well, it's interesting that, I brought up Denzel earlier. I think, Denzel Washington, he is one of our greatest American actors, right? He is one of our greatest American actors. And I think they all have something different, right? Like him, let's say Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Meryl Streep, greatest American actress, you know what I mean? Actor.
What about Sam Jackson?
You know,
I hope they burn in hell.
You know, because he I remember back in the day he would be like he was upset when people thought they could just come and jump into this acting thing, because he would say that,
well, put it this
um,
way. Look, okay, look, okay. All right, Sam. Sam has done more movies than anybody in the history of the whole the craft, right? Of the discipline. He's done more movies than anybody. I kind of you go like, wow, that's a feat. You know what I mean? And I respect that. I mean, and I've seen him good. I've seen him good. I mean, he's done got to be what like 5,000 movies. I've seen about maybe 10 good ones. You know what I mean? And
He was
but
he
he
good in
does
School
theater.
Days. He played the hell out of that chicken dude in
well,
School Days. Come on, man.
yeah,
He
yeah.
he, he played the
That
hell
was
out
good.
of that. And then the dope fiend in
what,
I forgot which movie it was.
once again,
Hella performance.
you said his earlier work before he became a star. You know what I mean? So you got to put the work in. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Sam is. I feel like he might be good, or he could be good, or he is, but he's in a system where he has to be what kind of they want him to be. You know what I mean? In a weird way. Now he may fight back on this. He may be like, "Oh, motherfucker, you don't know what you're talking about." You know, but he's in a system that's what they're calling for, and he's giving them what they're calling for. So I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I've seen them where I'm like, wow, that was good. But when I saw it, like I said, I've seen it maybe 10 times. And I saw it
But,
decades
but
ago. You know what I mean?
yeah, well, he does theater as well.
Well, yeah. Not all of them are kind of coming back to theater. You know, Denzel's doing
Yeah.
Othello now. Like they all are coming back to theater. And yeah. But we gotta ask, is it good? I mean, we haven't seen it. You know what I mean? Like, is it good or is it like okay? You know what I mean? Like we don't know. You know, I mean, I haven't seen the plays. I haven't seen the plays.
Yeah.
I'm just talking
Yeah.
about movie
I
wise. It's
mean,
like,
Puffy did a play, so I don't know if that means anything. So.
oh well, yeah. And guess what? That's what put Kenny on. Nobody would do it. Kenny said, "I'll do it," and it put him on. And now he's the black guy on Broadway. Kenny was the only one like, "I'll do it," because at the time, credible directors was like, oh, "Hell no, are you crazy?" You know what I mean? And he said he would do it. And the rest is history.
Opportunities.
And the rest is
Opportunities.
history. Yeah. Because I look at that sometimes, because I probably would have been one of them people like, no, I'm not doing that. You know what I
mean? Well, let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you because you talk about what you're watching. You're watching a lot of British shows. What you watching right now? What is Johnny Kitt?
You know, it's funny. What am I watching? You know, actually, I'm watching. Actually, I just said British shows, but I'm watching White Lotus on Max.
Yeah, I'm watching that. Yeah.
I'm watching this thing on Prime. It is a British show called Ludwig, which is kind of funny. Yeah, which is pretty funny actually. It's only been like 3 episodes so much. It's a comedy. It's a British comedy, and that's kind of funny. But what else did I watch? What else did I watch? I watched those two. Right now, of course, I'm watching March Madness. But I'm watching all the games now. But those two shows, I can't think of a show. I can't think of another show off the top of my head. I'm watching White Lotus because a lot of shows I've kind of finished. I watched The Agency. I kind of finished with that.
I like The Agency.
Yeah. My wife hit me to a very good show actually that is on Apple TV called Slow Horses, which is a British show. It is very good.
Is that the CIA? Well, their original CIA. Yes, yeah. That is a hellified good dude. I love that show. That's a really good show.
Slow Horses. It's on Apple TV. So with Gary Oldman, it's like 3 seasons. Yeah, my wife hit me to that one. I was like, oh shit, and then it was really good. It was really good. Yeah,
I did it. I do enjoy that one.
I just watched a show called The Residents.
I heard of that, but I don't know.
It's really good, but it's a Shondaland production.
Wait a minute. Is that the one with the sister in it? She like a detective?
Yes.
Somebody else said that was good. Somebody else said that was good.
Very good.
Yeah, somebody else said that was good.
I'm going to have to check that. Is it on Netflix? Is that on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
Okay. I might check that out. Because somebody else did say that was good. Once I saw Shonda Rhimes, I was like, I don't know.
Really? Yeah, I like her stuff, man, for some reason. Because I like Bridgerton.
Okay, Bridget. Well, when she hit with the whole How to Get Away with Murder,
yeah,
the whole.
Well, after the 3rd season, it lost me.
The whole I'm super black woman, I handle everything, but I'm so into this white guy. It just kind of, I'm into this white guy.
Johnny, she had to get it greenlit. So she got to be out of she got to be into the white dude. Come on now, you know how it works.
Let me just tell you this story real fast. And I had a newfound respect for him. Because once again, I'm just a product of my environment. My mother did not like Fred Williamson. She always like, oh, he always think he's so cute or whatever. And I think he into white women, whatever, whatever, right? My mother back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of grew up like, Fred Williamson, whatever. But I would see these movies and be like, okay, I see, Fred Williamson doing his thing, whatever, because he would be in those kind of exploitation movies to a little bit, to a degree, whatever. I saw him on a documentary. I forgot what it might have been. A Decade Under the Influence. It might have been that documentary, or it could have been just another documentary. I don't know what it was. Fred Williamson said this, and I never forget it. I'm like, damn, it gave me a newfound respect for him forever. He said, let me tell you something. He said, when I came into business, I had 3 rules. I don't die, I get the girl, and I win every fight. He lived his career by that. And damn, if you don't go watch a Fred Williamson movie, he don't die.
Nah,
He win every fight.
right, and he
Gets
gets the
the
girl.
girl. And he said, if Hollywood can't give me that, I'll stay right where I'm at and be acting world, whatever, whatever. Because
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. But that's also, like I said, the things that shape us, y'all. We cannot turn our back on it or a blind eye to it just for a little bit of money. And I know I'm sitting here, my bank account ain't all that. And I'm here in one bedroom in Quincy. My wife lives in Chicago,
Yeah.
I mean, but I travel and I buy whatever I want to buy. I have a good life. I take care of my daughter. She's 23. She, graduated from college, everything else. But if you're gonna be rich in this business, you're gonna be a millionaire. You're gonna be all this other stuff. You gotta understand that there's gonna be compromises. And are you prepared to deal with those compromises? Are you prepared to do those things? Are you prepared to be in those rooms or in those settings with those people who are going to tell you what to do and say you are this, and you got to go, yeah, I'm this. You know what I mean? Because if you say no, you don't get it. I mean, it's just as simple as that. As simple as that. So when Fred Williamson said that, I said, oh, shoot. So here I am, Jonathon Kitt. I'm a man. And I got to play black man in his full power. And even if I am the one who loses in the scheme of the piece. Because once y'all start watching, because look, well, y'all don't know my boys from college, but all my boys from college, who I went to Clark with, right? I was the only one to become an actor, and they always supported me. Where they would take me to rehearsals. If I didn't have a car, pick me up, come up to all my shows, whatever. If I had to do something, I couldn't be there, they'll go do it for me, whatever. All my boys from Clark are like brothers. Every single one of them, almost to this day, will call me at some point or whatever, be like, man, did you see this movie? They, even sisters I know who I was tight with, whatever, they be like, man, I can't even go on a date with a dude because I'm watching the movie and I'm critiquing it, and he's sitting there like, because they've learned from me how to look at the thing and go, wait a minute, what is really being shown to me? What are they selling? Everything is selling you something. Everything has a political slant. They want you to believe in something. So as black men, what are they selling us? What's being sold for us? How are we being represented? So
Right.
when you grow up with that kind of consciousness, you can't just say yes to anything. You have to be like Fred Williamson and go, I win every fight. I get the girl, and I don't die. Because back then, the black dude be the first one killed off in the movie. You know what I mean? Black dude gonna die.
Right.
Every time. Make it to the end and die. I mean, but that's how they view us.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, dude, we could sit here and talk for hours.
Yeah, we could.
But first, I want you to go ahead, tell everybody, the audience, how they can get in touch with you, how they can follow your story. If they want to reach out to you and say, hey, I'm watching such and such and such, what do you think?
They
Tell
can
us
always go to my website and they can leave a message there. They
go
go to the
ahead.
website.
Go ahead. What's the website?
www.jonathankitt.com. That's it.
That's Kit, Kitt.
Yeah, Kitt,
Yeah.
like Eartha. Like Eartha. Like Aunt
Hey,
Eartha.
hey, Kit,
Yeah.
This is dope.
I've truly enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep in touch with you because I am gonna hit you up. Hey man, I'm watching such and such. What you think? And we can talk about it.
But once again, we all are smart, man. We all are smart, and we have to look at things and view just the world and our lives and our image at the top of its intelligence. That's all I'm asking for. That's all.
Well, I'm calling you up so we can go get a drink together because we live close.
Yeah. I'm here now, brother. And I gotta tell
You
you
know,
why I love Boston, man. I'm like,
yeah. Tell me why.
it's really no foolishness, but I think it's because it's a lot of smart people and it's a lot of young people. And I think that old image of Boston, they've been working very diligently because you've been here forever to
Yeah.
dispel that, to get rid of that old image. Because back in the day, the racism and everything else, was in your face from what I hear, you know what I mean, and what I know of it, you know, from others.
Hmm.
But and I think it's been very, very. I mean, I've been having a great time. I've been having everywhere I've been has been nothing but love from everybody. You know what I mean? And I like it. I mean, I know, like Tommy said, it's cold, but you know, I've been in the north for a long time now. But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. It's
I love Boston, man. Boston to me is a dope city. I moved here in 2001. I've seen a lot of things change just in that short
of
period of time.
course.
You know, my wife is from Boston, so it's like, yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah,
I love
it's a chill city, and guess what? The crime rate is so crazy low. Now I'll talk about
it.
this off the air. Why I think that is. There ain't no crime. Even the
Yeah,
neighborhoods that's supposed to be rough, I'm like, okay, I can see how this a little bit like let's say Roxbury. I was like, okay, I can see how this a little, you know, I see, but it's still different. It ain't like them other cities. Like I said,
right.
I was ready to get the hell out of Atlanta. Atlanta ain't got too damn. This is, you know,
Man,
Like
look
I
at here.
said, oh, hold on. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
You can't.
yeah, yeah.
I got young kids running around. They only give me so much time before they got to come in here. So, but once
yeah.
again, Kit, thank you for taking time out of your day to educate our audience on acting, on your journey. I truly, truly appreciate it, brother.
Hey, I appreciate it too, man. And man, thank you so very much. Y'all two keep doing everything you're doing. I know. I mean, we're talking about me today, but you two brothers are, supremely successful and just, representing what black men truly are. You know what I mean? That's what we do, and that's what we're here to do. Because if we don't do that, why are we really here? You know, we want to leave a legacy that stands for something. You know?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else, Devon?
Man, that's all I got for the day, man. Man, I'll take us down a rabbit hole, bro.
Yeah. Hey, have a good one, man. Take care. How's your kids, Tommy? I forgot. I know they little.
Oh, 3. I'm sorry, 2 and 5. 2 and 5.
Man, God bless you. Mine 23.
All right, fellas. Peace.
All right.